So let's start with the future. I think there's one fight that everybody's kind of expecting to happen, but you've mentioned a few times that it's not really certain yet with Colby Covington. How do you stand on that at this point?
Yeah, it's still the same. It's not certain. Of course, that's the fight that I want. That's the fight that everybody wants. But you know, there's still some moving pieces that needs to be put together before that fight happens. First of all, the most important thing is my health. I had a pretty significant, a big surgery after my last fight. So I want to get back to the point where I can be in the gym and actually start training, and because it's killing me not training. I'm a guy who likes to train. I like to stay active. So that's the most important thing, is get back to where I'm healthy, and then I can get active and become that, you know, very, very active and dominant champion that I want to be.
You had been injured for quite some time, right?
Yeah, I've been always battling injuries, but the reason why it continues to happen is because I jump back into training very, very fast, because I love to train. I love to stay active. This is just what I do. And so that's why I have an injury, and then I'll jump right back into training, have a fight, have another injury. So, you know, this time I want to make sure that I'm doing things the right way, because I'm not just a fighter anymore or just a contender. I'm the champion, and I want to go out there and put on the best performances each and every time.
Do you have any timetable and an idea when you will be able to come back to training 100%?
Yeah, I should be training. I think in a couple of months I should be able to be training. So, I think by the end of the year, for sure, I'm going to fight again, for sure. I wanted to get at least 3 fights in this year, but, you know, due to this injury, it's kind of slowed things down. But never say never, fingers crossed. So, yeah, hopefully by the end of the year, I'm back in there.
Well, another player in this situation is Ben Askren, right? And you guys have had a little back and forth there, and you talked about the Jordan Burroughs thing. How does Ben Askren factor into the title situation there?
Oh yeah, he's there as well. I mean, Ben Askren was never an issue for me.
Yeah.
You know, he came in, and of course he wanted to come in and really sell himself. You know, now he's in the big show, he needs to make a splash, and he did that. So I'm glad that everyone's talking about him. That's just another guy for me. You know, after I get the next opponent, that's another guy that's waiting for me that I can, you know, go out there and defend against. So I love it, but he's got a hard fight.
Yeah.
You know, Ben Askren's no shoe, and he's got to fight Jorge Masvidal, and Masvidal is no easy guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw what he just did to Darren Till. So, you know, you can't count Masvidal out as well. But, you know, any one of those guys, I'm ready and I'm prepared for all of them.
With Ben Askren, it's interesting because, like you mentioned, he came in and he just like stirred things up in a way. Like, he really made his presence known. And I was talking, I was listening to an interview with Kevin Lee, and he said that they had a bit of a back and forth during a press conference, but he was like, I appreciate that in Ben Askren because I think it's interesting. And, you know, it brings attention to the division. Do you kind of like his presence there?
Absolutely. As a champion now, whoever I defend that belt against is going to make me, you know, a little bit of extra money. So I need to have the guys that worthy adversaries that people are going to be interested in seeing me beat up. So if he's already starting to stir the pot and make that fight big, then absolutely, I love it. I have nothing against Ben Askren. You know, when we step inside that cage, I'm beating up anybody, so I don't mind.
But then why did you make the Jordan Burroughs joke?
No, I made the joke because just like that, Ben came in. Ben was doing his own thing on the other part of the world, and Ben came in thinking, "Oh, I'm the best at everything. I'm the best at wrestling. I'm the best at this, the best at that." So that was just to let him know that, hey, no, you're not. You know, relax. You know, when you go into wrestling, there's the guy that's the best there, and he went in there and he felt that. Now you want to come into the UFC, there's a guy that's the best there too. And that's me. So when that time comes and I get my opportunity to show him that, you know, I will gladly do it. And so that's all that meant. That was, you know, I don't really care what he's doing. I just watched it. Of course, he was interesting. I like that. So I watched it and I saw what the best did to him there. It's going to be a lot different when the best here gets a hold of him.
Do you see Colby as the most deserving contender because he was a former interim champion, or do you think that the longer he stays out, the slimmer are his deserving of the title shot?
No one's really deserving of anything. You know, as long as you're fighting and you're active, it's the hottest guy whose name's the biggest is who the promotion is going to put in there to fight. And you know, I wanted Colby because I've wanted Colby for 3 years now. We've had several opportunities. They've offered me that fight at least 4 or 5 times, and I've accepted each and every time. He's the guy that has turned down the fight, and so now there's nowhere else to run. You know, his excuse before was, I'm chasing the title. Well, the title's here now. So, you know, of course, if that fight, I would be glad if they made that fight. But if not, it doesn't matter to me.
At the Q&A yesterday, you talked about the Brazilians asking you to beat him up, and your wife is a Brazilian as well, right?
My ex-girlfriend is Brazilian, yes.
Okay. Do you take that in consideration of the thing he says outside of the octagon? Do you try to move away from that to avoid getting too emotional with the thing he says about you as well?
No, I don't. For me, there's no emotions when I step inside that octagon. There's no emotions. It doesn't matter. I don't see a face. I don't care who it is. Whoever stepped in there and locked inside that octagon with me is the guy that I'm going to punish. And yeah, of course, you know, this is extra ammunition. I love the Brazilian fans. I love the Brazilian people. My daughters have Brazilian, and so of course that's a little extra. So when I'm really hitting them, I'm gonna put a little extra for the Brazilian people, a little extra for the Africans, a little extra for the Muslims, everybody. I can go through my phone, my Instagram right now. I've got at least 20 messages of people saying, I can't wait for you to beat that guy up. So, you know, it's great. He's really made himself the bad guy, and I appreciate it and I love it.
Usman, with that said, fighting Brazil is something that you plan to do in the future?
I have fought in Brazil. I fought here in Sao Paulo. I fought Wale Alves. Yes, I was scheduled to fight Serginho Moraes in Curitiba. Unfortunately, that one fell through. I got sick, but yeah, I love Brazil. You know, if I got the opportunity to defend here, I would absolutely do it.
You said, going back to Colby, that at the same time, like, you appreciate that he made himself the villain, and I think that's a fight that would be so interesting because it's got those things, but at the same time, it does seem like a little personal. I might be mistaken, but I think it was on the Joe Rogan podcast that you mentioned that you wanted to do this fight for other people, and I think that has to do with how Colby carried himself outside the octagon. So is there like a personal element to it as well?
A little bit, just because of there's a certain that we're all entertainers at the end of the day, but there's a certain boundary, there's a certain line that you have to realize as an entertainer that you can't cross, because at the end of the day you're still a human being. So when you step outside of this world of entertainment, no one can do this forever. So when you step outside, you still have to be a normal human being. And so when you cross those lines, everyone else don't care that you're an entertainer and now you're no longer entertaining, or are you still entertaining? No one cares. And so when you've crossed those boundaries, that's what people think about and that's what people care about. And so he's crossed that boundary several times, just trying to be the entertainer. And so that's what makes it a little personal. But like I said, this is a fight that I've wanted for a long time, because this is a guy that has ran his mouth for a long time about me. And so you run your mouth about me, I want to fight you. And so when you run away, it makes it even more interesting. I want to fight you now. So, you know, hopefully the opportunity comes to light, everything works out. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm here to beat up the next guy in front of me. I don't have to call people out anymore or chase guys to fight me. I'm the champion. They have to come to me.
Do you think he's faking, or do you think that's really who he is?
You know, that's for everybody to you know, decide. I have mutual friends with him, so I kind of know the difference between his personalities, but it doesn't matter to me. When you go public and you say things like that, now it's real. And so we'll find out if he ever steps inside that octagon with me.
And how about taking UFC to Africa? How do you think, how near it is? And is it a legacy you want to leave?
Absolutely. I think we're very close to that. I didn't realize this at first, but the UFC has partners with TV partners down in Africa, and so that would be amazing. I mean, this is, as you guys know now, there's Africans in the UFC that are doing amazing. We have 2 champions right now, 2 champions, both from Nigeria. You have Francis Ngannou, who is staring at that title. He's so close to that title. He's also from West Africa, from Cameroon. We have Razak Al Hassan, who's knocking guys out in the welterweight division. He's also from Ghana. He's from Africa as well. You have Sadiq Youssef, another Nigerian. We have a few Nigerians right there getting ready to get the call up. So, things are looking really good for Africa right now. I think in 2020, UFC is definitely going to be looking to do their first show there.
Do you know if there's any good arenas to hold a UFC event there, or is that something UFC has to really wait for something to come up?
Oh yeah, there's some major, good, really good arenas. I think that was the thing of the past where they were worried about the infrastructure, where they can this sustain. But yeah, there's definitely the ability to do it. We have good basketball teams there as well. So there's definitely places to do it. It's just, does everything else work out? Money and tickets, and there's a lot of intricate details that go into taking a fight somewhere. So hopefully the UFC can get that worked out, because Africa needs it right now.
You mentioned Sodiq, and then I remember that after he just recently won, and he said that he got really emotional watching you take the title because he saw you with your mom, and he's like, you see one Nigerian mom, you've seen all of them, and that was my mom there. Like he said he got really emotional and choked up, that it meant a lot to him to see you get that title. So how does it make you feel that you get to be that mirror for these guys?
It feels amazing, because that's spoken just like a true Nigerian. That's how we are. We're so prideful about where we come from, because we come from humble beginnings to where when one guy's doing it at that level, is really showing us that there's a way. We all take pride in that, and that's something that resonates with all of us. So yeah, I completely understand it, and I feel it, because I've felt like that too with certain Nigerians. So it means a lot to me, and that's legacy. That's what you can't. I didn't ask to be put in that situation. I just happened to be chosen to be that guy, to be able to be the first ones to blaze that trail. So it feels amazing.
If UFC really put on a show in Africa next year, do you think it's going to be in Nigeria because of you and Tanzania?
It could be. It just depends on who, like I said, the infrastructure and the things like that, those details. So whoever's willing to step up. I mean, look, Zaire held the Rumble at Ali and Foreman years ago in Zaire. So, I mean, it's definitely can be done. It could be in Nigeria. Obviously, that would be logical, makes sense, because you have two champions from Nigeria. But also, South Africa, there's a big promotion down there as well that's doing well. Anywhere in Cameroon, Ghana, Saudi Arabia is there. There's a lot of different parts. So, of course, I would love it to be in Nigeria, but we'll see what happens.
You made it very clear the fight that you won for your title defense, but you did say if Colby ever steps in there. Why the if? Why do you think would prevent this fight from happening?
Well, there's an if, because there's a lot of different things that goes on. Like, I mean, we're talking, some contracts that need to be worked out. We're talking about the logistics, where the fight's going to take place. Because I don't mind, I'll fight anywhere. But I don't think he's able to fight just anywhere. I don't think there's a lot of countries saying, "Oh yeah, bring this guy here to fight." So, so those are details that have to be worked out. And of course, like I mentioned, the most important, my injury. Once that's healed up, and I'm hoping he's man enough now to step up and actually take the fight, because this was a fight we were actually offered a fight in Anaheim in December last year, or I think maybe early January, and he turned down that fight. So, he's I know he's saying to the media, "Oh, I want to fight, I want this fight, I want this fight," but they've offered him that fight before, and he said no. So, what's gonna be different now?
And speaking of Colby, who is deserving this title shot?
That's the thing. That's for those guys to make themselves visible. But Askren's made a lot of noise. If he's able to get through Masvidal, that's an interesting fight. Junkie Santiago Ponzinibbio is I think on a 6-7 fight win streak, and he's doing well as well. So that's an interesting fight. Tyron Woodley's fighting Robbie Lawler. If he's able to get past Robbie Lawler, that's a rematch that could happen. So there's a lot of different moving parts, a lot of different pieces. So it's whoever does their job and steps up and becomes that number one contender is who I'm going to face.
Besides Colby, is there another welterweight that you have personal issues with?
No, I'm one of those guys. I don't have personal issues with anybody. You can ask any UFC fighter on the roster. They see me. I'm the same guy. I don't have no personal beef with anybody. I fought the champion Tyron Woodley. I have no beef with him. I like him. So Colby's the one guy that has kind of made himself that villain. ever since a long time ago. And I've said this before. There's some history here. There's a lot of different things. Like this was supposed to happen. This was something that was already written before we were even born. Because I've actually stayed where he went to college. The room that he went to college. I actually stayed there a while ago, years ago. You know, he was a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. We both live in South Florida, at least 20, I think maybe 20 miles apart from each other. So this is something that's already been planned before us. So it's destined to happen. Hopefully he doesn't screw it up. So we'll see if it happens.
You talked about contracts and business and money. What are your thoughts on the UFC moving the pay-per-view to the UFC Plus platform, and how does that gonna affect you in terms of pay-per-view points? Because now you're a champion, you have to you make pay-per-view points now.
Yeah, that's why I have good management, and that's why I pay them good money. So, you know, they figure that out. They know the best because, you know, whatever is good for me is good for my management team. So my manager always does a good job of making sure that everything is done right. So, you know, he's gonna go out there and do his job again and make sure that everything works out right. And all I have to do is sit back, fight, and get paid.
After defending your title for a few times, moving up to the middleweight is something that you plan to do?
We'll see. If it makes sense, then yes. You know, Whitaker was a former welterweight. So if he's still the champion at that time, it makes sense. Absolutely. But as you know, my brother Israel Adesanya is there, and once he goes out and really makes the claim that he's the true middleweight champion, then there's no need for me to do that. I mean, potential contenders are going to continue to present themselves, and I'll continue to beat them all down until I decide to walk away from the sport.
I think you already answered that, but I missed it. When can we expect your return, your next fight?
By the end of the year, for sure. I planned on fighting at least 3 times this year, but then I dealt with this injury. So, like I said, my fingers are still crossed, and I'm hoping to at least for sure get 1 more in, preferably 2 more.
About Adesanya, how is the relationship between you two?
We have a great relationship. You know, I'm my own person and he's his own man as well. But, you know, we're Nigerians. You know, it doesn't matter where we are. If a Nigerian runs into another Nigerian, that's my brother. We have that type of relationship. So every time I see him, man, it's nothing but love. I always wish him the best. I met his family, and so an amazing guy, amazing guy, and you know, we're making waves right now. We're the future of the sport, and he knows that, and I know that.
What's the secret about Nigeria and MMA?
We're resilient people. We come from humble beginnings. We have everything that we own, everything that we get, we have to fight and claw away to. So, you know, that's just a dying resilience that we all have. We have this thing inside of us to make it happen. And it's not just us, it's all Nigerians. If you look at some of the professions that Nigerians are in, they're either going to be doctors, engineers, lawyers. So we really strive for excellence in everything that we do.